and the story is over.
Putting on a drum show.
Yeah, like, that's it, I think. Finally. I mean, I think it was meant to end with Clancy, and then they released Clancy, and were like, actually, get baited, nerd, and announced Breach. And while I've never been the most invested in the 21 Pilots lore, I'm relatively positive about their recent output, and was definitely not going to say no to another project. The thing that I found myself starting to do when I hear projects that I want to make a review on is consciously trying to find an original thought about the album on first listen. And by original thought, I don't mean something nobody else has said before. I really don't think that's possible for me, especially for a band the size of 21 Pilots, but it's a little difficult to start a script when your first thoughts are just, that was nice. It's an opinion, sure, a valid one, but it doesn't really facilitate debate or conversation about the thoughts that led to those conclusions. The first thought I had about Breach, honestly, before I'd even heard it, was that this might be the only true sequel that 21 Pilots have ever done. I mean, I've talked about it before, but I think an undeniable truth of the TRP discography is that the album cycles have all felt pretty separate from each other. Vessel doesn't sound like any other album they've done, neither does Trench, neither does Blurry Face, and I might have differing opinions on those projects, but that's always been a fact about their output. And don't get me wrong, they're a pop band, they make pop music, I'm not trying to deny that. But I am saying you don't have to be a massive 21 Pilots fan to recognize what era a particular track comes from most of the time. Even Clancy's indie rock leanings make it pretty distinct from the electropop, hip-hop, and alternative stuff on their previous records, in my opinion. But Breach isn't distinct in that way. The single's released in a very Clancy-esque way, super ambitious multi-genre lead single, more straightforward post-punk banger as a follow-up. Clancy got Backslide and The Craving afterwards, whereas Breach only had the two real singles, but point stands. And the album itself kind of fits that, I think. There's a stronger return of their alt-pop roots on Breach, so it's not a one-to-one comparison, but this is absolutely the most obvious example of 21 Pilots trying to maintain a consistent sound across multiple projects. Hell, even the covers are pretty similar. And this is true even down to the lyrical and production specifics. The callback to Heavy Dirty Soul in the outro of City Walls, or the instrumental to Intentions being Truce played in reverse.
Intentions are everything. Now I see intentions don't mean much.
The Island of Violence, first mentioned back on Migraine, Driving with Music, first used as a way to mask anxieties all the way back on Car Radio. I mean, there's probably more, that's just all I can remember, but it really does just solidify my view of Breach as either a sequel or a more genuine conclusion than Clancy would have ever been. Is this sonic consistency a good or a bad thing? I don't really think it's either. You could probably argue that one of the most important qualities of 21 Pilots is their ability to consistently switch up every time, but equally taking the time to master the sound that you want to make is entirely respectable. I just thought it was an interesting observation about the album. I don't necessarily think that it means the project is any better or worse for it. For what it's worth, I think The Contract is better than Overcompensate, Next Semester is probably better than Drum Show, and City Walls is better than Backslide and The Craving combined. All good songs, by the way. I saw that someone say the singles released were weird, and I guess there were a few people unimpressed by The Contract, but I don't know. It really did just get more catchy for me on every listen. In terms of the full album, on first listen, I kind of had the same reaction that I had on the first listen of Clancy. That's it. I mean, a symptom of how immersive they try to make their lore is that I always expect the music to be more ambitious than it ever really is. I think City Walls lives up to that hype, sure, but most of this, Raw Fear, Garbage, Robot Voices, One Way, Days Lie Dormant, it's just pop music, man. I mean, it's catchy, mostly, and the lyricism is good, mostly, but even as someone who isn't keeping up with the lore, it really just sets you up for more. Plus, my love for Trench just tends to inherently ruin my perception of any other project by the duo. But it's also not filler, and I don't want that to be the conclusion. The bridge on Raw Fear is some awesome stuff, and the string section on Garbage is a great touch. Plus, One Way is a song. I'm sorry, it's so forgettable. Robot Voices and Days Lie Dormant are both pretty awesome though. They both kind of hit the same notes, chilled out indie rock instrumental, subdued verses, and then an uptick in volume and rising tempo in the hook. It's such a simple trick, but those bastards got me twice! Plus, they both got pretty cute depictions of love, which is always sweet. Cringing at corniness is the coward's way out. I don't know if you can hear that, but Jesus Christ, there's a loud as fuck bird outside. Admittedly, while I like a lot of these songs, I do think that the standouts on Breach generally lie elsewhere. Center Mass might actually just be one of their best tracks ever. From the opening half, the incredible intro and drumming performance just making me picture this concert routine in a dimly lit jazz club as members of the audience asking how he deals with the pain. And the second half is just as good, an explosion into an intense depiction of struggles with mental health. Following Centre Mass in the track list is another hit for me, Cottonwood. I do think it's hard to hate on a track about a family member who's passed away, but in a very similar sense to Centre Mass, I think the imagery is just perfect. Looking back in time through a telescope, catching your reflection, your past self doing the same to you, I think is really poetic in the best sort of way. And there's Tally, right towards the end, which is one that took a lot of listens to grow on me. The opening synths and delivery are just so in your face that it feels kind of tacky, but it is more than made up for by how great that chorus melody and production is. I like Intentions enough too and what it represents, but I love Tally as a closer to this chapter of the band. As for negatives, I never really connected to the slower tempo. Not what I meant. As for negatives, I've never really tended to connect with their slower tempo but still super bombastic tracks that never really do a lot for me. I mentioned One Way being pretty forgettable, and Downstairs is another one that I'm just not really connecting with. Apparently it's a 14-year-old demo reworked, and that honestly makes more sense than I wish it did. I think it's cool that they did it, but it also just reminds me of stuff I didn't like from Regional at best. But that's about it. Every other track here is one that I enjoyed to at least a moderate extent, and it's really what sets this above Clancy in my view. Both have similarly incredible highs, but there are just less skippable moments on Breach, and the flow of the album means that I don't even feel right skipping over the couple of tracks I didn't love. I'm not entirely sure where 21 Pilots plan to go from here. Apparently they're taking a break for a while to be with their families, which is totally respectable, and I'm super happy for them. But that is also helped by the feeling of finality in Breach, the sense that, much more than Clancy, it's a real final chapter to the story they've been writing for so many years. If they never released another project again, well, I wouldn't exactly be happy, but for now I hope they appreciate what they've done with Breach. If you like this video, make sure to check out what I said about the rest of the 21 Pilots discography right here. And other than that, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.